The following program is rated TV MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is normally a weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z, but not this week. That's Adam. I'm Zach.
I'm Adam.
No, that's him. That's Adam. I'm Zach. And this week we have a special guest. You may know her from being on this podcast many times over the years. Also from great books like X Factor, The Trial of Magneto, Giant Men, a Adventure Time miniseries once, I think. It's Leah Williams. Leah, how are you?
I'm good. Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to do our kind of annual check-in here that we've done every single year that I've been writing for Marvel.
We were just talking about this. It's been 5 years that you've been writing for Marvel. Is that weird?
It is. It is weird. It feels like so much longer. It feels like this is all I've ever known.
Well, you know, I think we're all happy to have you on this show, and we're here specifically this week to talk about a very interesting project of yours, and it's a little unique from I think a lot of the stuff that Marvel tends to put out. We're talking about X-Terminators, Leah, with you and Carlos Gomez. That comes out as if you guys are listening to this when this airs, comes out Wednesday. Go pick it up.
Yeah, first issue comes out September 21st, 2022, and I've been writing this since, let's see, I think about like summer 2021. It's been a while. It was delayed. So by the time I'm, getting ready and like doing these kinds of interviews and stuff to promote the first issue, I'm completely finished with writing the book. Like it is pretty far in the rear view mirror, but I am always excited to talk about it. And the title we were originally going to go with for this book, which was Jonathan Hickman's idea, is actually Grindhouse of X. So that should tell you a bit more about kind of the flavor and the nature of this book. It is my first book with a parental advisory rating, which is also very exciting.
Let's talk about those two things here. And Leah, you don't need to answer this question. I'll direct this question to Adam. Adam, on a scale of 1 to 10, how large of cowards are the Marvel Comics Corporation for not calling this Grindhouse of X? Leah, please don't answer. I don't want to incriminate. Actually,
no.
Earmuffs.
Okay.
I just want to, well, first of all, yes, they're cowards. But I actually wanted to ask about this because, Leah, I had read that this is such a long gestating idea that I guess the original pitch, around the table, was Dazzler Vampire Hunter. Was that?
It was, yeah. So it was during a creative retreat. I think it might have been actually C2E2 2020, before
the last
everything
comic book
happened.
convention.
Yeah. And it was originally Jerry's idea, and he brought it up. I kind of had been kicking around this thought of Dazzler the Vampire Slayer, but never really done anything with it. And then I immediately lost my shit. Are you kidding me? Jerry, that's amazing. You have to do it. That's the best thing I've ever fucking heard. And he was like, Leah, it's yours. Take it. If you want it, if you want this book to exist, do it. And it's not like he was going to be busy writing X-Men or anything.
Right.
Jerry's keeping himself. He's keeping himself pretty hectic right now. He's got a lot of irons in the fire.
He has a lot of stuff going on.
He's got a lot of Iron Men in the fire as well. He's got a lot of iron things going.
So, I wasn't going to say no to that. And there were a few different incarnations of Dazzler the Vampire Slayer before we got to X-Terminators as it is today. And it was going to start out being a webcomic, like one of the vertical scrolling comics on
Yeah.
the Marvel Unlimited app. And I just thought it would be a good place for that and maybe have kind of like a YA feel to it. But then, as time went on and I finished up the Trial of Magneto, I was like, no, I want to do Grindhouse, actually. I want to run in the furthest direction from YA and do Grindhouse. I want this to be a Grindhouse book. And
I was just gonna say, yeah, that's a pretty large tonal shift there, Leah. Was it freeing to be like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna do this big, dumb, raunchy, violent thing and this like explosion of id?
it was incredibly freeing. It just felt like I keep saying that this is the funnest and easiest gig I've ever had. And part of the reason is, like you said, it is pure id. There are 0 brain cells I am using to write this book. Jerry says that it's my magnum opus. I don't know what that says about either of us. And it's just been a blast. And I was just ready to write something that required no thinking, I think, especially after Trial of Magneto. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to do anything kind of tumultuous or like overly difficult to conceptualize or anything like that. I was ready for a break. And to me, that was my beeline towards Grindhouse. And that was when the X Office started calling it Grindhouse of X because Jonathan, heard what I wanted to do and had that idea for the title on one of our X Office Krakoan Council meetings via Zoom. And so we just started calling it that. And then the cast kind of took shape where it was just going to be like Dazzler and her adventures. But then, I expressed an interest in some of the other explosive mutants. So Teeny kind of shuffled some stuff around and made room for me to take on Jubilee. And then, Boom Boom wasn't up to anything. She wasn't busy.
Right.
So
she didn't get elected to join the X-Men for some reason. I couldn't tell you why.
I'm not even sure that would have stopped me if she had. I think we still could have made it work. And then the last member of the cast to join was, of course, Laura Kinney. And the way that this came about was Jerry cares about her a lot and like her role within kind of the larger X-Men universe. So he brought up the fact that she was going to be done with the Children of the Vault story and kind of ready to re-enter like the larger X-Men context of what's going on. And so I immediately called dibs because I could see it. This is when the book like really crystallized in my mind and took shape. I could see it so clearly the moment that she became a possibility of being on my cast. And the way that I describe her presence on the team is she is the pinch of salt you add to brownie batter to make it all the sweeter. She is just like the perfect foil to the chaos that is the rest of the cast.
Because that cast is chaotic. I mean, that's the right word for it. Dazzler has been going through some stuff over the years. Never really found her footing after her initial appearances, and once the 80s died, they weren't sure what to do. I mean, she was outdated when she appeared. Disco was already dead when she showed up. So she's always been a little bit off kilter. And then you have Boom Boom and Jubilee, who are not stable individuals.
I want to go back to what you were talking about, how this is like, a product of your id. I was thinking we were lucky enough. You shared the first couple issues of this with us. And I could not help but think that this is the most Leah thing that you've ever gotten a chance to publish, probably since Gwenpool.
Thank you. I hope that's a compliment.
It's a huge compliment because
I think it's absolutely a compliment, Leah. I do think
it's also low key a roast, but I'm going to own that.
I like to think it if there are people who are aware of the Leah Williams TM brand of yucks and jokes, they're going to understand if they're going to vibe with this comic real quick or not. Like, it opens up with a nice, good shot of, and I'm quoting here, Dazzler's Juicy Dumper that says Praxis on it. And I feel like if you get that, you're going to understand this book immediately.
Yeah. From panel 1, the Praxis booty shorts. If you're vibing with that, then you're in for a good time.
It makes a statement. It really does.
Thank you. That was like one of those visual images that came to me really early on in working on this book. Like, I knew I had to put her in some Praxis hot pants, and it's kind of an esoteric joke, but also I love it enough that I don't care.
So how much of the pitch are you, like, when you're going out and doing interviews and press, how much of the actual pitch of the story beyond the cast and the tone and the genre of the book are you sharing? Because as I read, there were a lot of fun surprises along the way that I kept being very, very happily surprised by. So to what extent are you sharing with the public to get them excited about this book?
That's a good question. I haven't been kind of sharing much, in the interest of spoilers and that kind of thing. But having completed the book now and knowing where it concludes and how much it escalates and maintains the same sort of tone the entire time, I can definitely, with absolute confidence and conviction, say that there is no way people will be able to anticipate how good the ending is going to make you feel.
I love it.
It is one of my favorite things that I've ever written. With everything that I write that has a sequential story coming after it, I always try to one up myself, and I want issue 2 to be bigger than issue 1, issue 3 to be bigger than them both, issue 4, and so on. And so I knew with issue 5, I had to keep up that same energy and make it really, really leave a lasting impression and kind of blow people away, pun intended. And I'm so stoked with how it's turning out. We got some inks back from Carlos, like the final climactic pages that people are going to be obsessed with, I'm sure. And they're just gorgeous.
So would you say that the Marvel Universe will never be the same once this book comes out?
Yes, I am literally affecting the canon.
That's good. That's good. I know Kieran's doing a lot of stuff right now over in his little corner, but I do think that the big canons that you're going to be affecting here are kind of something that people need to be watching out for,
including a literal cannon, like a rocket launcher, because explosive mutants, not enough.
You gotta have more explosions. I feel like there is
better.
I don't know. I feel like too many books have just too low of a density of explosions, and I think you're course correcting on that in a way that really resets the bar for everybody.
It's like the Spiders George meme, the one I'm talking about.
Leah, yes, I unfortunately always know the meme you're talking about.
So there's this Tumblr relic from 2014 or something like that.
The relic of 8 years ago.
I mean, for the people who are going to be listening to this, it is a relic. And it starts out with one poster saying the average person eats a certain amount of spiders in their sleep every single year. And then somebody replied to it and they were like, actually, Spiders George, who lives in a cave, eats 10,000 spiders a day. He is an outlier and should not have been counted.
That is actually very good statistical analysis right there.
It just became a meme. So that's the role that X-Terminators fulfills within the larger Marvel canon. We are the explosive outlier. Yeah.
No, but I think it's interesting because it's I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this in a very complimentary way, so everyone understands. Leah, this is a dumb book.
Yes, but it is intentionally dumb.
Yes, and I love that about it.
It is gleefully dumb.
It is transgressive. It is just stupid. Like, it is. I feel like there is a part of, and I'm going to get on my pedestal of X-Men fans, who may want to take time and do like page by page annotations of different books and like really get into the details of look at how smart this is and how that validates them.
I do not want people to do that with X-Terminators. I want you to like forget everything and enjoy it.
I feel like it'd be hard to do that with X-Terminators. Could be like, this is a good joke they did. That's funny. It's funny that they said this thing. I think that made me chuckle. I had a sensible one there.
And in issue 4, what we have Jubilee and Boom Boom doing here is called kink shaming. Kink shaming is when you shame somebody for their particular fetishes.
Yeah, but like, there could be little footnotes that someone could do about, what this is referencing, or, I don't know.
You could, but I don't know why you would want to.
No, it would take away from it.
That's called over-explaining the joke, which I'm doing right now to you.
But at the same time, this does not feel like, particularly pop culture referencey. Like there's
dumb and then there's dumb, and they're two very different things. And it's hard to explain the difference between...
This is dumb and then parentheses complimentary.
Yes, exactly. This is not like... I think there's a habit, and I think you see this a lot at like comic conventions where there's a lot of very small press guys who are... It's X meets Y, and it's like it's unicorns meets zombie vampires, and it's just like a loony, crazy idea, and that always to me feels dumb in a way that's like I don't want to enjoy this. This book feels dumb in a very different way. It feels dumb in a way that it's not even winking to the audience. It's just saying it's getting to the core of what big actiony superhero stories are, in a very similar vein to something like Next Wave did. That was like, hey, we're just going to go all out and you're going to enjoy this. Oddly enough, also a book with Boom Boom in it. Why do you think she's so well suited to big, dumb things?
I think that her final form, like her final Pokemon evolution, is kind of chaotic good bimbo Boom Boom. Like I feel very strongly about the bimbofication of Boom Boom, just because it's a sort of camouflage for her to like hide her vulnerability and loneliness and kind of be the life of the party at the same time. And I think it is what makes her so well suited to these sorts of, extremely high energy books where she's kind of rattling off like jokes and punchlines and having the time of her life while kicking ass at the same time.
Well, we wandered away from something Zach brought up early on, and that is the parental advisory that starts each one of these. And there's a certain comedic deal with each one of these because they're not all the same. They change from issue to issue.
I also got bored of the gag around, I think, issue 3 and then stopped doing it.
Okay. That's great. So just, can you walk us through, I guess what I'm curious about is, beyond the idea of, the whole comics rating, whatever, and like giving people a heads up, like, what is the relationship between like the creative team and actually having to run this thing by a certain, I guess, standards? And is there a standards and practices group that has to look at these things? Okay.
And this has been just a phenomenal experience in what we've been allowed to get away with. In every single issue, there's at least a page or two that I'm extremely partial towards, but am braced for them to be cut immediately because that's kind of what I'm accustomed to.
Right.
So in issue 1, it's like the opening bar dialogue between Jubilee and Boom Boom, where Jubilee is just kind of like roasting the way Boom Boom dressed up for this outing. And like Boom Boom's kind of taking it in stride, like, awesome, great, I love it. Why is that a problem? And I was so sure that it would get cut, but it didn't. And then in issue 2, there's like a circumcision joke, or maybe that's issue 3. I don't know. There's something in every issue that I'm like, okay, crossing my fingers, please don't get cut, please don't get cut. And it's all getting passed. And I think that's really saying something, because I didn't even know about the parental advisory rating until issue 3. I was scripting issue 3 when I found out, when Jordan asked me actually, like, what are you thinking in terms of the rating? I am thinking parental advisory. And I was like, oh, that's an option? Yes, absolutely. And then I immediately began stress testing the boundaries of what a parental advisory rating can do. And I think it becomes evident in issue 3.
In 3. Yeah,
well, and I
sure.
like that you're holding back on that. You don't want to, blow your load on that way too soon. You want to build up to it. I mean, that's what those explosion girls are gonna do for you. They're gonna help you, hold it into the right moment, and then boom, bam, right there, get you when you're least expecting it.
Just cascading explosions, yeah.
just everywhere.
So all right. So you find out that this is an option. You're having these conversations with Jordan, who's then passing these things up the chain. Things are making it. Did it ever, over the course of making the book, get to a point where you finally got shut down? And you don't have to give specific examples, but I'm just wondering, like, at what point were the upper limits tested to the point where, like, you actually had to dial it back, or did you just
never?
Hey, it flew.
Never. That hasn't happened.
I love it.
It's so whenever there is kind of like, using the kink shaming example in issue 4, Jubilee and Boom Boom are kink shaming the main villain for having a piss fetish, and they're calling him like little piss baby, little pee boy, loves his pee. Like it's explicit. And when I first turned that in, Jordan was like, I know I'm going to have to ask for permission about this specifically. And it felt like playing a game of chicken, like,
do you think Jordan D. White was comfortable going up to the powers that be and be like, here's the piss page. It's not what it sounds like, but
it is.
You really want the piss page.
And that page was approved. So that should really tell you something.
Well, I think you know what it is, though? I really think that it just feels freeing to read this. I just wish that there was a little bit more liberty for creators to like cut loose like this, because it's more, I don't know, there's something really, really fun about this, and allowing the characters to kind of just do something a little bit different and a little more outsized than normal. So I'm really happy that, especially of the writers that could be doing this, you are the perfect person to be doing this.
I'm really happy that it turned out this way too. And I think part of the success in the formula of X-Terminators was the fact that we, from the start, kind of carved out a space for me to do something like this. And that was always the plan after Trial of Magneto, to kind of, have an opportunity to do my sort of like blue sky thinking wish list book, which, ended up being a parental advisory Grindhouse book. And it's not something that is destructive to like the larger Marvel universe or anything like that. I'm not destroying anybody else's world building. It takes place within the world of X-Terminators, and I think that's probably pretty helpful too. So, like what's some spicy dialogue compared to me if I had wanted to be like, okay, I'm gonna blow up Krakoa, then that wouldn't even get past the pitch stage to Jordan. Right. And be like, no.
I've got this island already. I'd really like it if you would not blow it up.
I can almost imagine a scenario where there is maybe like a director's cut of this mini. Is that like ever something that might
I think
get thrown around?
The only thing that would be included in the director's cut is the way that I script, because I
Right.
story for readers, but I script to make Jordan and Carlos laugh. Like, I script knowing that, like, they're going to be reading it, and if it's not enjoyable for them, then what's the point, you know? So the way that I communicate is really important to me, in that I want the script to be as fun and accessible as possible for all my collaborators, which means that, like, my descriptions, the references that I'm including are all sort of geared towards who's going to be reading the script. And Carlos is having the time of his life. He is having so much fun with this book, and I'm very happy about that.
Let's talk about Carlos.
Yeah, let's talk about Carlos Gomez, because you've worked with Carlos in the past. I know he did some fill-ins for X Factor, but you also worked with him on The Amazing Mary Jane, a series that unfortunately was lost in the great comics shutting down for a little bit thing that happened.
And working with Carlos on Amazing Mary Jane is exactly why I requested to work with him on X-Terminators.
Mary Jane's still stuck in that desert, right? Like, nothing's happened with her since. Is that my understanding? No. So, you know, you wanted to work with him after that book. What does he bring to this table? Because I feel like you need a very specific artist for a book like this.
Well, he draws really sexy people. And I remember during Amazing Mary Jane, we'd get inks back, and I would write these notes to our editor, Kathleen Wisniewski, that was just like, all my notes said was just bisexual panic, because both Mary Jane and Quentin Beck were so hot that I'm like, how am I thirsting
Quentin
after
Beck,
a guy with a bowl cut? Like, what's happening? And the fact that, you know, Carlos made me thirsty for someone with a bowl cut, a villain, no less, like, that's power. That's power. And he also brings a lot of, you know, kinetic energy and dynamism to everything that he draws. And with X-Terminators, you know, all of this action and the explosions and their expressions, I knew he would knock it out of the park. And he absolutely has been.
Yeah, there's definitely a real like vivid quality to the action scenes, but just the way in which the two of you have collaborated on what the characters look like on a basic level, you know, there is, like you said, there's a sexiness to these characters that we may not have seen elsewhere. You know what I mean? We often see these characters in full costumes, and that's you know, its own look. But the fact that they are all kind of casual and, you know, doing their thing, like they were going to go to a bar before they get into this adventure, it's a really, really good asset to the story.
I think so too, and it kind of adds to what makes this book so fun. The fact that we're playing dress up with the characters, because there's not just one or two, but three distinct costume changes with the cast. And one of those costume changes is a result of, in my script for one issue, we have kind of a flash forward to like future consequences of what's happening now. And I told Carlos, like, put them in whatever costumes you want, but they have to be weird, like clown girl, cheerleader, schoolgirl, nurse, sexy nurse, like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. No,
whatever you want with them.
It's the stuff that you would find for $30 at the Fredericks of Hollywood.
Exactly. Like sexy Halloween costumes, you know? And I was just like, I will reverse engineer it and figure out how to get them into those costumes later. And I did. I figured out a way that Boom Boom ends up in a clown girl outfit, which is my particular favorite. And it's just been so much fun in that regard.
Well, I think those costumes have been released on the latest cover that just came out today. You got Sailor Moon dressed Jubilee. It's a whole vibe.
Yeah. Dazzler's in a cheerleading outfit. Laura Kinney is in like a witch costume.
It's a very practical witch costume. It just has a big.
It is. Carlos and I agree that Laura is kind of not the stuffy one, but she would definitely,
She's the
in the
one who's
context that they end
bullied.
up in these costumes, she's not going to be the one reaching for like the skimpy cheerleader outfit that Dazzler has on, She's
Right.
going to choose the one that covers the most skin.
I think that's a good segue to talking about a character that I absolutely love, and I wanted to ask you about, and that is Jubilee. Jubilee has, ever since, what is that, X-Men Volume 3, when Shogo showed up, had been on sort of a ride, you know what I mean? Like there's been highs and lows for the character, but a lot of the time that she has been in stories, and this is no insult to what Teeny's done with the character, she has not been in a starring role, or has not really been in the limelight. She's at this point in her character history where she's kind of complicated. Like she's not the little kid from the animated series anymore. She's, a mom.
An ex-vampire.
And, she's got the whole vampire history thing, which factors, a little bit into the story here. So how do you approach wanting to get this character back to kind of like an adult version of the quippy teen that we all remember from the 90s?
Well, she has these really formative experiences, all of the events that you just mentioned, and she's just carrying them forward with her. It doesn't kind of change her most important intrinsic qualities about what makes Jubilee Jubilee, which is, she's fiercely intelligent, she's hilarious, she's quippy, fast on her feet, like kind of a shit show, but in the best way possible, a lovable shit show. And you just kind of compile it into like a patchwork quilt of her qualities. And this is one of my favorite things about writing her and writing other characters like her, when they have kind of all of these different attributes that factor in over time, and they all create these really complicated but beautiful patchwork quilts of qualities that I always want to keep in my line of sight while I'm writing them.
So, did you ever consider then, Leah, just having Jubilee wear a baby Bjorn the entire miniseries? Like, or were you like, you know what, maybe she can hire a babysitter, like one night in her life?
Well, going into X-Terminators, I already knew of kind of different story circumstances of why Shogo wouldn't be an issue. I don't know if those have already come out or not, so I'm not going to spoil anything. Or
Well, isn't Shogo in Otherworld?
It's just like a
Yes.
dragon, but he's just like vibing, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's
I don't know how much of that is just like, oh, he's going to be vibing as a dragon for a while now. He's
no.
just living his life.
But isn't Shogo there and Jubilee is back?
yes,
Everyone's back.
Yeah, but
Oh wait, this book was
no, this After Knights of X isn't.
wait.
yes,
No.
yes.
Yeah. Wait.
We're okay to say
I don't
this.
know.
I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure.
know. I don't. Listen,
hasn't-
there's a lot of comics. I can't. You think I can keep up with everything? I live a very busy life. I've read all those stories. Do I remember everything that's happened 3 weeks ago? No, I remember that the lesbians finally kissed, and I was very happy for them. And then they saved Gambit from that bad Peter Milligan story again. And that's what I remember.
I think I'm right. I hope I'm right.
Shogo is being fostered in Otherworld because of his magic potential.
There we go.
And when we pick up with Jubilee, it's right after this has happened. So my approach towards her in the beginning is she's feeling a little untethered, a little aleatory, kind of not sure what her next move is. She has never been without Shogo for this long, and she's feeling a little lost. So, of course, when she gets this opportunity, we find her wearing like a dirty tank top and just kind of hanging out watching TV, like total couch potato hours. And Dazzler is like, we're drinking tonight. And Jubilee is like, yes, we are. Absolutely. Yes.
That is a very tired mom with her first day not having a kid in a little bit kind of vibe. I've gotten to see that in person, and that rings eerily true.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of vibe that I wanted to open with when we first see Jubilee.
So, Leah, I got to ask, now that you have been cut loose and untethered in this way, I mean, moving forward with future creative projects, I mean, do we anticipate that we're going to get, you know, this kind of level of, I don't know, like this level of all of your stuff is always fun to me. I'm just curious if like this level of creative freedom and letting the characters cut loose is going to be sort of like the new standard, or is this like this was a one-time special that we let like Leah cut loose and do supermarket
Well,
sweep?
I think a different way to ask that would be, you know, you've gotten a chance after a big emotional story with like Trial of Magneto to cut loose and just do something wacky and fun and a little less you know, high soap opera emotions in it. Is that a mode that you want to stay in, or are you looking to get back to, I don't want to say meteor, but more, you know, like quote unquote deeper stories?
I could probably, if they let me, I would love to keep writing stories like Exterminator. This does feel like more of kind of a one-off situational thing where this is the most Leah book that I think readers will have seen. But I'm also happy that it exists for that exact regard. Like now you guys know what I really look like on the page. You know
Mm.
what my voice looks like now.
Mhm.
This is the most unfiltered that I've ever been. But that said, you know, it's because of, like I mentioned previously, the context we carved out for a book like
Mm-hmm.
Exterminators to exist. And I can't say that it's a new standard. Just like I approach every new gig with kind of a different lens for it,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what's going on in the rest of the line and like what the book itself is, that kind of thing. You know, like I need to be adaptable as a writer and kind of stretch myself to fit different molds.
Mm.
So it's miraculous that Exterminators even exists, considering, you know, how much of my voice it is, how much of my unfiltered voice. But that is definitely, I don't think, the norm for most creators.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I
regardless,
think
I'm really grateful that you had the opportunity here to put this book out. Excited to see how it ends, having not read it, and I'm always excited to see whatever you're doing next. Um, Zach, do you want to jump to Twitter questions? Do you want
I
to?
don't have any other questions. Lee, is there questions we should ask you besides what we've already asked you? Like, is
We
there
have a
something you
couple
just want
really
to like
good
go
Twitter
off
questions.
about? Like, just
Um,
I don't know, explosions. We already covered
we can
explosions
talk
pretty
about the
heavily.
fact that Carlos has developed a crush on Boom Boom through
Uh,
drawing this book.
Oh, has he? Has he?
Yes.
Do you feel like there's going to be a new appreciation of people having a crush on Boom Boom, this
Oh,
fictional
100%.
character?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's
He
a lot.
It, even just from, like, we kind of knew she was going to be the runaway fan favorite, but even just from the preview pages that were released, like the dialogue-less preview pages, Boom Boom got the biggest pop from people because we've kind of, you know, given her a makeover. She's very high femme, wearing like a mini dress and platform
Hmm.
sneakers and knee socks, pigtails. Like she looks fabulous, super
She has
girly.
big, like there's an artist I have been listening to recently. She's got big like scream queen energy to her in all
Hmm.
of her
Hmm.
looks right now.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. And we noticed this even during like the drawing stage
Hmm.
when I think it was around drawing page like 12 or 13 that Carlos developed a crush on Boom Boom and it became really evident. And I have some examples of how it became evident, which is by the time we completed issue 1's art, Carlos had been asked no less than 5 times to lower her hemline slightly so that her whole ass isn't hanging out. And there's a page, I think that was released as one of the preview pages. We see Boom Boom in this kind of like gross, swampy bog filled with ghouls, and she looks incredible. Like, she's in the most disgusting environment, and it even looks smelly, but she is so sexy. And I complimented Carlos on this, and he replied back like, yeah, she's the star of the book. And Jordan and I were just like, we didn't have the heart to tell him otherwise, like, sure, Carlos, yeah, she's a star now. And there would be panels where I would, because like I most of the time I leave it up to the artist how they want to frame things, but I provide kind of the surrounding action in case they want to include other details as part of the context of what's happening in a certain panel. So I gave a panel description that was like, okay, Dazzler and Jubilee are talking in front of this crashed car. And that's the story, like that's what's happening. But if this is wide enough, then we would also see Boom Boom puking in the background because she's concussed. And when we got the art back for it, it was just like Boom Boom looking beautiful, puking front and center, and then her, Dazzler and Jubilee having the important like plot conversation. And I just think it's so funny, like Carlos must have looked at that panel description and was like, nay, best girl is
right up front,
foreground, actually, even if she's puking.
I like that energy, because I think it's oddly very in line with Boom Boom as a character. She tends to
she's very easy to fall in love with.
I mean, I think of it, and I'm gonna get analytical here.
Ooh.
You're going to do what you said people would not do with this book.
I said people shouldn't do it. When have I listened to my own advice? But Tabby has always been a character that steals the spotlight when she shows up. She became the center of, what's his name, the Beyonders world when she first appears. She takes over completely from Skids when she joins the X Factor book. She becomes the secret star of X-Men Evolution when she's in that book. She gets all of the best lines in something like Next Wave. Like, she becomes the center. She becomes the her and Glob, but mostly her become the center of what Ed Brisson did with New Mutants back when he was doing it. I think she demands a presence in a story that's using her well, and that's a beautiful thing to happen in this book.
Yeah, and I would also say that Jubilee very similarly is that kind of character where, in the stories where she's featured, she's a scene stealer. She's very high energy and has a great personality, and gets all of these like great quippy one-liners. So my experience writing X-Terminators is, immediately the two of them become this sort of like high energy equilibrium where, I thought that Boom Boom was going to be the runaway fan favorite, for every issue. But then looking at issue 2, it was like, okay, Jubilee's taking this one. And there is a sort of balance with the cast. Like, they're all getting their moments to shine and their hero moments and their funny dialogue. Even Laura, when she kind of warms up to Boom Boom and Dazzler, who she's not as close with as she is with Jubilee, like, she starts to reveal her humor, which is very dry and witty, deadpan humor.
I think you could describe Jubilee and Boom Boom in this book as the Stouter and Waldorf of hot exploding mutant girls.
The what?
Statler and Waldorf from the Muppets.
Leah, do you not know the Muppets? The very famous puppets?
You just said it.
Yes. I would say thing 1 and thing 2.
Yeah.
Because either way, Dazzler would either be the Cat in the Hat or the Miss Piggy in that situation, depending on which analogy you're going with. And then I guess Laura would either be whatever the fish's name is in Cat in the Hat that's always mad at the kids for not doing the fun stuff, or she's
Kermit.
I kind of want to go with Kermit. I guess Kermit is, if anyone's the Wolverine of the Muppets, it is Kermit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I was either going that or Scooter, but I don't think Laura is manic enough to be Scooter.
No.
Scooter's always
She's very even keeled.
Yeah, it doesn't match up.
She is, but I also feel like she, of all the people in the situation, she wants to be in the situation the least. I feel like everyone else, even if they don't want to be in this vampire grindhouse situation, they can find the joy in it. Where Wolverine is like, guys, I want to go home. I want to do something that doesn't involve this. I want to just like chill.
Yeah, I mean, you're correct. And Jubilee even kind of gives her a hard time about that in issue 4. Like, this is the most fun that you've ever had on a mission. And Laura's like, this isn't a mission. My arm got cut off. What are you talking about? And Jubilee's like, my point stands. When have you had more fun than this? And it is true that she's having a lot of fun because this isn't a formal, like, X-Men mission. It's this is how these people hang out and have fun. Like, yes, they were trafficked and kidnapped and drugged and are made to fight all of these creatures, but they're having a good time, and that's what matters.
You know what? I think having a good time is really all that matters at the end of the day. Let's just a very hedonistic, nihilistic worldview. Just have a good time. And I think this book provides that. But do you know what else also provides the world's most hedonistic and nihilistic worldview, Leah?
Twitter.
Yes, thank you. You got it. And the hedonists over on Twitter did have a couple of questions for you. This comes from Valentine Smut1, who says, hello, longtime listener, first-time caller. Laura and Allison are doing squats with Jubilee and Tabitha wrapped around their shoulders, respectively, instead of weights. Who on Team X-Terminators can do the most reps?
Laura, easily, no question.
Okay.
Like, she has, regenerative abilities, so her muscles don't get as, like, burdened with lactic acid buildup as, like, a normal body would. So she can just keep going and keep going.
But do you think Allison can do a surprising number of squats?
She can. And this is canon now because I included it in this book. She's been lifting weights. She goes to the gym.
Good for her.
She's looking good.
And she's doing it for her, and that, I think, is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Leah, Kyle still asks, what's your favorite social media follow, non-comics related?
Well, I'm only really active on Instagram, and I think that, actually, let me pull up the accounts. I follow some design accounts that are a lot of fun. Let's see. Cindy Green NYC is one of them, run by Cindy Green, a designer and the founder of Sable Studios. And she just curates a lot of really amazing architecture.
This is nice.
And Juxtapose Mag.
Always a good pick.
JUXTAPOZ is the name of the magazine. And their handle is and it's just that mag for their Instagram handle. And they curate a lot of like really off the wall, amazing fine art and pop art. And it's just like fun every time I see it come up in my Instagram feed.
This looks, you know what, Leah? I was really afraid of what your Instagram feed may show, given as you may know and our listeners wouldn't. I've had a bad experience with finding just the worst stuff on Instagram. I have had to purge this to make my brain better most of the time. And I have done this and fallen back into the trap multiple times. So I'm glad to hear that you are being healthier with your Instagram choices.
I am. I try to curate a feed that is going to provide me with, something new and inspiring, and kind of takes me out of my comfort zone comics wise specifically. Like I want to be exposed to lots of art and culture kind of outside my own.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Now, is there specific art or culture that you are exposing yourself to outside of comics right now that you are really enjoying?
Splatoon.
Yes, the cultural touchstone of our generation.
Yes, exactly. Nintendo's third-person shooter game.
The thing that people may not know is that in Splatoon, you can make a choice, and you can be a kid now, and then you can be a squid now.
Oh,
and you can be a kid or a squid, depending on how you feel.
Nice.
Asimov Fangirl does ask, which members of the X-Terminators watch anime?
Laura and Jubilee. I think that
right.
Dazzler has probably seen some standouts, ones that most people have heard of and enjoyed, like Attack on Titan, that kind of thing.
You think Dazzler's watched Attack on Titan?
I do.
Okay. I was leaning in
the music in Attack on Titan fucking slaps. She has absolutely watched Attack on Titan.
Okay, listen, I'm gonna take your word for it. I don't know what
she's the writer.
I know she's the writer.
He is the writer. You're not the writer.
I know she's the writer, and I believe in death of the writer.
Look, I'm not saying Dazzler's a weeb. I'm saying she is cultured. Like she has
Titan culture.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. I do not watch this thing.
Any anime that is really popular on like mainstream streaming services like Netflix or Hulu, stuff like that, she would have been exposed to. Like, she didn't have to go looking for that. It's not outside the realm of possibility that she would have just clicked on it on Netflix and started watching it and be like, wow, this is interesting.
Do you think Dazzler would cover a Strange Angels thesis for like an encore or something if she was doing like a big tour? Wait, that's not the name of it.
That's not what it's called.
What's the name of the anime song, Adam?
Are you talking about the Neon Genesis Evangelion song?
Yes.
I don't know.
He is.
Something thesis.
There's an angel having a thesis somewhere in there.
I think that she would do it if requested, but she's not going to arrive at that song naturally of her own accord, because that's kind of an older anime that I don't think she would be able to stumble upon quite the same way she would Attack on Titan or something like that. However, Laura Kinney knows every single word to that song and pops the fuck off whenever she hears it.
Just to be clear, so that the people stop yelling at their cell phones right now, it is a Cruel Angels
Cruel
thesis.
Angel, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, we have more questions. Someone just says thank you for that Slack picture you posted about the meme of the Madman from Mad Men saying that they should give Dazzler an absolute dump truck ass.
You're welcome.
Okay.
That was my pitch
people.
for this book to Hickman. Just me wordlessly sending him a meme, like a Mad Men meme, where it's John Hamm pointing to a display board, except I'm John Hamm. Oh, there it is. Yeah. And the display board says, we give Dazzler an absolute dump truck ass. And the best part of this screenshot, because it is my conversation with Jonathan Hickman in his DMs, is he replied to me, I like this and I want to upvote it, but I want to also remind you that you can always go bigger.
Whoever said that Jonathan Hickman didn't have a sense of humor?
He's so funny.
I said that a lot, actually. I regretted it. I found out I was wrong.
He's so fucking funny.
Hey, when question
Mr.
about
Charts
John Hamm.
so long.
So John Hamm was in Hellfire Gala, and then we recently learned
X-Men character John Hamm.
That Jerry
definitely not there just because he's Jerry's friend.
Yeah, so Jerry knows John Hamm. Does everybody get to like know John Hamm because of Jerry? Or is John Hamm like just still a distant person?
Is John Hamm in the X Slack with you right now?
Is John Hamm in the room with you right now?
Where is John Hamm at this moment?
Did you adopt John Hamm as a...
Are you keeping John Hamm prisoner in your home?
I don't
Do we
know
need
what
to call the authorities?
are you well, you know what? John Hamm was on the Legally an X-Men TV show Legion as an uncredited voiceover for the entire second season. So he does have the credentials to be in that office, I think.
He's like a comics guy. He loves comics. He especially loves a lot of X-Men titles, so he's reading the books.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. That's,
Man, hey,
John
hey,
Hamm just got cooler.
John, if you're listening, what's up?
He's not.
Yeah.
He's filming a Progressive commercial and promoting his Fletch movie. So
We understand we would be the third most likely X-Men podcast for John Hamm to be listening to. It's fine. We're all past it.
Lady Lar, I guess that's short for Laura, asks, if the girlies were to have a karaoke night, what would be each character's song choice?
I have playlists for each of these characters, and I know that if I opened Spotify and looked at those right now, I'd be able to immediately pick out some songs. But let's do this the hard way.
Talk about the playlist for a second, because
sure.
You did reveal a while back a 90-song X-Terminators playlist, and I was just blown away by how many songs were on this thing. I had this playing in it's like a 5-hour playlist. It was pretty great.
It's the short version of my writing playlist for this book. So I did the same thing with X Factor, where I'll have one kind of really large sandbox, 24 hours long, where I stash all the relevant vibes for the book that I'm writing, and then I will cull it down to a little more manageable 5-hour playlist, like the X-Terminators one,
right?
And then use that for marketing purposes. I think that playlists are really great as a shorthand for distilling ambience and atmosphere, and also just communicating that to readers long before the book is ever out. Here's the vibes, here's a collection of songs that I think are reminiscent of the book and I hope you enjoy. And that playlist is not necessarily the same as my character playlists, which are I've been making for years now, and are songs that I think the characters would actually listen to. Not songs that remind me of the character, but this is the music I think Dazzler would be into. This is the music that I think Laura would be into. So that said, the first thing that comes to mind karaoke wise is Laura's going to do House of the Rising Sun.
Yep. Yep, she is. She's going to be that.
I did not expect you to say that. I love it.
No question. I think Dazzler would do something a little campy, but still shows off her vocal range. So probably Jolene.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Good choice.
That's a song that could calm some frost giants or something, I've heard.
And Boom Boom is going to go with something unexpected, but she's going to be so good at it that people are like, okay. She's going to rap a Macklemore song, but actually make it good.
Okay.
And Jubilee, that's a tough one. My impression of Jubilee's music taste, I think that she likes hyper pop and R&B and a lot of really fun stuff. I might actually have to consult my playlist for this one.
Uh-oh.
I know, I'm pulling out the big guns. Oh, she's going to do, first song on this playlist. She's going to do Decepticon by Latigre. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Duh.
I love it.
Oh, that's fun. Leah, I think fun is exactly what people can expect from this book. It comes out Wednesday. Anything you want to yell at people to tell them to do and plug? People always listen to what people say on podcasts. It's a rule, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. just check out the book and have fun reading it.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And any idea, are you allowed to say anything else that you're working on, or things that we might expect in the future?
I am working on some more stuff, and nothing that has been announced or that I could tease, but I'll say that people are going to be super excited.
Yes.
It's a pivot. It's a hard pivot, but a great one.
Oh, that's exciting. I like that.
You know what? I'm always excited for more Leah Williams content in my day-to-day life. And I'm sure the thriving masses are as well. Adam, anything you need to plug?
Okay, so folks, you can always follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy. This week, I think coming out the day after this episode comes out, I was on the TV Trivia Pod. That's what it is. And I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but the episode's actually coming out. So if you would like to hear me answer random trivia questions about the absolutely terrible Will Ferrell movie, Land of the Lost, this is one of the weirdest guest spots I've ever done, but it was a lot of fun. So if you'd like a little more me in your life, you can go check that out. And Zach, anything you got going on?
Yeah, everyone, keep your eyes peeled, because Wednesday I have a comics-related interview, but also, excitingly for me, not fully comics-related. That may be, Leah, again, earmuffs, the most exciting interview I've ever done. So...
For Zach, it is 100% the most exciting thing I think Zach has ever done in his life.
I'm so happy. And I can't technically say what it is yet. But keep your eyes out on Wednesday on the Comics XF feed. It's gonna be fun for me, and maybe you as well. Maybe people as if you were a teen around 2005 and you were involved in some of the Warped Tour scenes, like if you went down to the local boat club and saw some terrible screamo bands, you're gonna love this interview. But that's what we got, folks. Leah, thank you again so much for being on.
Thanks so much for having me. I look forward to when we do this again in another year.
It'll be. You know what? It's going to be a good time. It always is. Next week, folks, we've got what? We got X-Men the End next week? No, we don't have X-Men the End. We do have X-Men
Forever.
We've got X-Men Forever, which is a different, oddly similar comic that Chris Claremont did at the same time. But until then, folks, this has been Valley Adam. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!